Coming up on Wave TV, Cy Chambers explores social media's impact on politics.
And Ann Bailey explains how and why to call your representatives. Good morning, I'm Joshua Diaz.
And I'm Ann Bailey. Today is February 17th, 2017, and Wave TV starts now. Statista.com estimates that approximately 78% of Americans use social media.
That's right, Ann. And it's actually a tool that we use often here in Wave TV.
However, social media is becoming increasingly politicized. Cy Chambers elaborates.
With the recent change in president on January 20, 2017, the U.S. is filled with strong opinions both for and against Donald Trump. And this new flood of political views is riding the wave of social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr are just a few of the social media apps that can be used to deter someone's political views or occasionally contribute to their political knowledge. With celebrities quick to voice their viewpoints via Instagram or Twitter, American citizens have started to scramble between forming their own opinions and following the ideas of their idols on social media.
Well, social media is a powerful tool, and like all powerful tools, it can be used probably for good or for bad. And I think, as we've seen recently, social media can be weaponized, that if you're someone, whether a political party or whether a foreign government or whoever, you can use social media as a tool or a weapon in order to try to get your particular point of view across.
Many people don't use social media for political reasons. Sometimes users can post things that aren't exactly credible.
I think often the posts on social media are really negative, so they don't really affect my opinion because I don't like to listen to that stuff, and I don't really read them most of the time.
Well, the posts on social media is that there's a lot of them, and social media can really influence how people look at politics. And personally, a lot of the stuff is just, it doesn't affect my opinion. It just doesn't on a lot of things.
Following websites like CNN or Fox News can give you the information you need, but may have their own political views.
You need to get it from a broad range of sources. So whether it's through typical mainstream sources or alternative sources, the key thing is not only to expose yourself to diversity in your personal life, but you need to expose yourself to diversity of opinions and different viewpoints and different sources.
I don't usually do regular news sources like CNN or ABC or NBC because they usually lean towards either conservative or liberal views.
Combining social media and politics can either make you more knowledgeable about the matter at hand or sway your opinion. Cy Chambers, Wave TV.
Thank you, Cy.
Once you establish your political views, Ann Bailey explains how and why to call your representatives to voice your opinion.
Voting is the cornerstone of American democracy. However, there are other ways to make your voice heard.
I think if it's an issue that you're very passionate about, you should call, and the most effective form is by calling, not by getting on a form email or anything like that, but calling your local office, and then you might even need to call the DC office. I call on a variety of issues. I call on issues related to my profession, such as real estate, but I'll also call on foreign policy issues, immigration issues.
As a member of nonprofit boards, I've called an awful lot of representatives and their staff on a lot of different issues. I think my first foray into this was when I was 8 years old, and I wrote President Johnson a letter about how we could win the Vietnam War.
I would say it's more effective than voting, because you're letting them know that you're going to hold them accountable, that you're paying attention to what they're doing, and that they can't pay attention to your issues, in the case of a congressman, only once every 2 years.
To call to support or oppose a bill, one must first locate his or her representative. In Somerville, for example, Mark Sanford represents the district. It is important to know the name of the bill in question so that the person taking the call can easily look it up. Bills typically start with HR or HJ, followed by numbers. Next, callers who struggle with speaking over the phone should create a script for themselves in order to make the interaction smooth and brief. Above all, callers should keep it simple and respectful.
Every call is law, so I can give you an exact number of people that have called on the issue of Yemen. I could tell you how many people have called on the issue of Affordable Care Act.
You really should come armed with some familiarity with the issue and maybe a few facts and figures that you can offer if the opportunity arises.
Our founding fathers believed that civil discourse was an important part of the equation. If one is to represent, about 750,000 people back home, which is what every congressional district covers, it's important to hear from people.
I try to be polite and quick and to the point. I've been fairly pleased with my congressmen and both senators and the responses that I get back. I would say I've gotten them to think a little bit differently about a certain issue.
It's very helpful for people to hear what somebody at home thinks. Here in recent news in Washington, politics really does impact people's lives, and again, the only way you change it in our political system is by making your voice heard.
To find your representatives, visit house.gov/representatives/find. Reminding you to make your voice heard in a constantly changing political climate, I'm Ann Bailey, Wave TV.
Thank you, Ann.
My pleasure, Josh. As a reminder, that website is house.gov/representatives.
Moving into student news, a date to mark on your calendar is March 24th, Somerville's first annual Day of Caring. Clubs, classes, and teams will find a service project in which to participate on that day.
And April 6th is Somerville's Powder Puff game. It will begin at 6:30 in the Memorial Stadium.
The champions will compete with the school's female teachers for Spirit Week of April 7th. That's the Friday before spring break.
Now, in honor of Black History Month, Jelani Moore provides insight to a unique Somerville class.
Today we investigated the African American Literature class. We interviewed the class's instructor, Ms. Howard, to get a better idea on what the class is about.
African American Literature is a chronological literature course where we study African American literature, history, culture from Africa all the way through slavery, the Civil Rights Movement, the Harlem Renaissance Movement, and even contemporary literature today. The literature is very rich. It's full of history and tradition. It's my favorite. When I was in high school, I fell in love with poetry through the writing of Langston Hughes' Mother to Son. It was one of my favorite poems. And I just wanted to share that rich love for literature with other students.
She goes on to say that the class is an elective course. And if you need an extra English credit, the class can validate that as well.
We began the school year with African literature because I wanted them to know that the story did not begin with slavery. It began with a very rich past in Africa. So we read a lot of the epics from Africa, things like the Sundiata, which is an African epic that I'd never even heard of until I went to college. We read folk tales and myths, and then we moved on to slavery, where we read slave narratives, the life of Frederick Douglass, Harriet Jacobs, Harriet Tubman. Basically, I just want them to take from the course that African American people, as expressed through African American literature and art and music, are a people of hope and faith. And even if you endure difficult circumstances in life, that if you remain faithful and you work hard and you persevere, you can overcome.
Thanks, Ms. Howard, for an amazing interview. And if you find the class interesting, make sure to sign up for next year. For Wave TV, I'm Jelani Moore.
Thank you, Jelani.
Not only is February Black History Month, but it is also a time in which we celebrate heart health.
Brianna Black brings us more.
Valentine's Day isn't the only thing giving hearts appreciation this month. February is also known as Heart Health Awareness Month. We spoke to sports med teacher Mr. Church about his own experience with heart health.
I passed out one day when I was with my kids in Raleigh, and through follow-up test, took a couple of weeks before they found out exactly what was wrong, that I had a bad valve and had to get it replaced.
Mr. Church had discovered he was born with a heart valve that was divided into 2 parts instead of 3. After the surgery, his valve was corrected. He continues to teach sports med classrooms at Somerville High School, advising his students how to deal with heart issues later in life.
Eat right, get enough sleep, get enough exercise, and your heart problems should be minimized. I teach both medical terminology and sports medicine 1. Sports medicine, that's where my background is. I've been in sports medicine for 25 plus years. If you don't know CPR, the best thing to do is call 911. Get them help. Find an AED. AED is an automatic external defibrillator. The school has them. Most big buildings and stuff have them. And get them to where hopefully somebody knows CPR and can save that person. If not, if you don't really know what to do, you can call 911 and get the right people there as quickly as possible.
Stay healthy, Somerville. Reporting for Wave TV, I'm Brianna Black.
Thank you, Brianna, for that information. Moving into the arts, the dance program will have an all-boys class available next year as an elective. Kennedy Washington visited the department for more information.
Somerville High School has been thinking about making a lot of changes this year, including an all-boys dance program. We talked to Ms. Brindley to get more information.
And I just want to encourage more boys to take it because it's not just ballet. We do ballet, hip-hop, contemporary, and an all-boys class will be more geared to what the boys need to work on in technique-wise. Like their technique is much different than girls' technique when it comes to the contemporary jazz and ballet styles.
Ms. Brindley explains to us where she got the idea.
Fort Dorchester started their all-boys dance program this year, and their numbers are on the smaller side, but definitely larger than it is here. I think when I started at Somerville, there was a little bit more of a stigma about boys in dance and what that's all about.
Michael Thompson gives us his views on the program.
As a dancer, it helps you be better as a dancer. It shows you like how to actually move and listen to like the right beat. When I first heard about it, I just thought it'd be weird, just be in a class, you know, full like a bunch of girls dancing. But once you like really get used to it, it's lit. It's like you feeling at home.
If you have any more questions, contact Ms. Brindley in room 402 for more information. Reporting from Wave TV, I'm Kennedy Washington.
Thank you, Kennedy. If you're looking for music to dance to, the Grammys have spoken. Kristen Witte reviews the awards.
An Off-Key Adele, a Balancing Beyonce, and Pantsless Pilots, all in this Grammy-themed music report. Good morning, Somerville. I'm Kristen Witte. In hip-hop and R&B news, the winnings were plenty for the Queen Bee and Chance the Rapper. Chance was the first win of the night with the Best New Artist and took home another one later in the show, all while sporting his signature hat. Meanwhile, Beyonce stole the show. Shocker. Besides the fact that she took home 2 Grammys, her performance had audiences gasping for the safety of the twins-to-be. Beyonce wasn't the only one sporting gold, but let's not talk about that. Drake also won some stuff too. In rock and alternative news, the late David Bowie's album Black Star killed the rock category, but the real buzz is about none other than 21 Pilots.
Stressed out, 21 Pilots.
Flashback to when they weren't famous, the duo used to watch the Grammys chilling out on the couch pantless, and they made a bro promise that if they ever won a Grammy, they'd accept it just the same way. Which is why they took their pants off at the announcement of their win for the Best Pop Duo.
Because anyone from anywhere can do anything.
And lastly, in pop news, it is all about Adele, who's all about Beyonce. She took home 5 Grammys, including Album of the Year, which in her acceptance speech caused her to go on a tangent about how much Beyonce deserved it more.
My artist of my life is Beyonce, and this album for me, the Lemonade album, was just so monumental.
She also had another performance blunder for the 2nd year in a row now during her tribute to George Michael.
I can't do it again like last year.
But in the end, it's Adele, and she does no wrong. That's it for this Grammy wrap-up. Until next time, Somerville, for Wave TV, I'm Kristen Witte.
Thanks, Kristen. In school news, Ms. Gumbiner created a unique lesson plan for her students on Wednesday. She had students represent different countries in a debate on how to handle nuclear energy and modeled the system after the United Nations. The UN was developed to sustain world peace after World War II. Students who enjoyed the UN lesson may join Model UN with Mr. Lewis for a more involved experience.
Thank you, Allison and Jade.
Remember to tag your pictures with #WaveTV to end up on the show. Again, I am Joshua Diaz.
And I am Ann Bailey. Have a fun and safe weekend.
Martin had a dream. Martin had a dream. Kendrick have a dream.